What's up everyone, how are you all? Today we are back with another blazing Naruto story. If you enjoy then please like, share and do comments. And also check the description box to original creator of this beautiful creation. You know I am the beginning, what shall you do? A bright light glowed, slowly flowing around tall blue-haired male and in a short green-haired gremlin. It was like stars dancing around them in a circle. A beautiful sight if not given the current scenario. Since only one of them can remain. The young girl began floating in front of the man, who looks no older than 21, raised his gloved hand and placed it in front of him. Facing the green-haired female as she floated towards him, as she as well raised her bare hand to face him. The girl touched the man's hand, she slowly disappeared into him, leaving behind a light blue color as seeming her energy merged with him. The last thing the girl remembered is the man leaving the realm of darkness, with his hair and eyes now green. A new power awakening in him. Hey, kid, wake up. The girl's green eyes blinked open as she slowly moved off the ground. She soon realized she was in a forest near some sort of gate. The guards stood above her, weird-looking ones if she were to be honest. A third person who was above her was a person who wore the officer's academy uniform, a bit banged up and a bit of blood on it. He had dark pink hair and green eyes similar to her very own. Maybe a shade lighter if you were to look closely. He looked down at her in shock. Before the girl could say anything and question where is she, the pink-haired boy spoke up. Aren't you the goddess Suthis? His voice was clear in shock. Seeming can't believe what he is even looking at. Suthis, the green-haired girl, slowly stood up. I am. She eyed around before looking at Edmund. Recent memories started coming back. How are you alive? She remembers him dying in the battle to revenge Gerald, her vessel's father. I remember dying. The pink-haired boy looked down at his uniform, still broken and bloody, both noticing that there is a big hole in his shirt, where it looks like he was stabbed, but there is no physical injury on him, and now I am here. The guards were confused, thinking the children were lost or were from a different village. Who are you two? The one covered in bandages asked. Suthis blinked at the man, silently wondering on why he needs the bandages. Before answering his question, I am Suthis, but people call me the beginning. She placed a hand on her chest and slightly bowed her head to the duo. I am Edmund Everdarth. Edmund gave a wary to the ninja duo. Nice to meet you. Well, he won't say nice under these circumstances since they stand over him in the ground. The duo took a good look at them. Suthis and Edmund don't look like they're from here or anywhere for that matter and can sense that they don't have any chakra. At least none that is noticeable. We should bring them to the Hokage, one of them said as the other one nodded. Suthis and Edmund were pretty sure they were no longer in PR near the monastery, that's for sure. The village, or Hidden Leaf Village, as the ninja informed them. It was very different from the kingdom, alliance and even the empire. Maybe they were no longer in Fulden? But that doesn't explain how Suthis is here in the flesh and how someone can take a nearly dead boy into another country. They duo have gotten weird looks from the villagers, they assume mainly because of their clothes. Suthis maybe because of her ears as well. They are pretty pointy, no wonder why Rhea, Sedith and Flane hide theirs. We're here, said the ninja who covered one of his eyes. Did Suthis even catch his name? Wait, she didn't even realize when they made it there. The two ninja knocked on the door, after hearing a small, enter. The group went inside. The Hokage, better known as Hiruzen Sarutobi, was smoking something that the two Fodlan natives couldn't tell what it's called. He looked up from the scrolls and paperwork he was doing. His eyes slightly widened at the non-familiar newcomers. Sir, we found these two passed out in front of our village, one of the ninjas said, bowing down along with the other one, which made the new duo sense the Hokage was the leader or at least someone powerful in this place. Their seeming came from nowhere. I can't tell if this is some weird afterlife. Suthis rubbed her messy green hair, or Byleth is having a very weird dream, earning questionable or confused looks from the others. The professor had weird dreams? Asked the young pink-haired boy, slightly tilting his head. He had overheard Byleth used to have some pretty random dreams. Well, Suthis gave an awkward smile, almost like she had to make up something on, more like memories from my lifetime, but that's beside the point. The Hokage coughed, which catch the attention of the Fodlan duo, before speaking to them in a stern yet calm voice. Who are you both and what were you doing outside my village? Edmund was shocked to see the third Hokage not recognize Suthis. How do you not recognize the goddess? He gasped as he pointed at Suthis. Lady Rhea drilled her image into everyone's head. When the pink-haired boy was young, he heard of Suthis very often. So does the majority of Folden, even other countries, from what he heard from Petra and Shamir. Even though they're not the religious type of gals. The third was more confused, and he shook his head. I have heard of no such thing, he said. My village isn't the most religious, but I believe we would have heard of a goddess. Suthis was a bit flabbergasted, not because they didn't recognize her name or face. Even though her physical appearance isn't what it used to be, it's because this place seems so out of Ray's reach. Since there was no place she can recall that hasn't at least said something about her years ago. Well, it would be rude not to say anything. The green-haired gremlin coughed a bit. Suthis is my name, but people called me the Beginning. Before motioning to Edmund, this young boy is Edmund from the Holy Kingdom of Fergus. Surely you must hear of the kingdom, yes? The third looked at the other ninja, who shook their heads since they as well never heard of it. The Hokage spoke up again. No, we are currently in Konoha. We're no longer in Fodlan, are we? Edmund looked over at Suthis, eyes widened in shock and fear as the current reality had fallen over him. Suthis, who looked as shocked as he was, eyes widened in shock. I don't think we are. Just then, before the conversation could continue, a man with a scar of his face came running into the room. Naruto is painting on the Hokage Monutments again. Which created shock and confusion to the current group. Suthis was holding back some laughter as she saw the rock faces covered in paint. Of course, she did find it foolish that the young boy was so bold, but couldn't help but laugh at it. Edmund was shocked, to say the least. He known people who were not fans of Suthis, but he never, or at least not in person, saw people straight up painted of her face. Iruka, who the duo found out the name of, was dragging Naruto back to the academy, scolding him and saying he will clean up his mess after classes. Children of this place are troublesome as well. Suthis mumbled as she is seeming was no longer in laughing mood. It looks like she is stuck with reckless students. Seems so. Edmund agreed, slowly nodding his head as his green eyes looked at the faces in the mountains. Guess no matter the world there will always be someone crazy. But the boy has spirit. I can give him that. Suthis eyes Naruto. She felt some kind of kinship with him. Somewhat like how she felt with Byleth when she first met him. The Hokage sighed. Let's get back to my office. We have much to talk about. He will leave the scolding and punishment to Iruka this time as he took the duo back to his office. You're going to put us into what now? Sothis's eyes widened as she slightly raised her voice at the old man. Her hands slammed on the desk. Edmund was equally as confused as the goddess next to him. The Hokage sighed as he repeated himself, if what you two say is true, we can't have you running around in this world with no knowledge on how to survive. He stroked his beard, and even if you can survive on your own, if people find out about where you're from, they will most likely want to get their hands on you. So, I will be sending you to the Academy for Young Ninja. To learn about this world. Suthis paused, her lips went into a thin loan as arms crossed around her chest as thought about the options. There is nowhere to really go. She nor Edmund know this unknown land, and it's unlikely she would go back to Byleth anytime soon. Plus there will be unfamiliar and possibly familiar foes that might want to kill her or take her power. Fine. Suthis sighed in defeat. There is very little she can do. She doesn't really want to travel in the unknown unprepared. Edmund spoke after Suthis. May I ask, where we will be staying? He asked. Since it seems we will be living here for the foreseeable future, we need a place to live? The Hokage nodded at that. I will arrange for you to live with one of my Jonin for the time being. As extra protection and to help you while you stay until you can live by yourselves. Suthis mentally cringed at the idea of living with a complete stranger. Honestly, she felt wary about it since it's mainly due to how she died originally, and it almost sounds like they will be held prisoner for a time. But this is the best they got. So, when does this academy start? Asked the pink-haired male, slightly tilting his head. Now. The duo barely got to class on time. Luckily Iruka took it well enough. He got them in the front of the class. These will our new students from now on. Treat them kindly. You can call me Suthis. Suthis introduced herself. A hand on her chest as she slightly bowed her head before raising it. It will be an honor working beside everyone. Edmund did the same as Suthis, mimicking her actions. I'm Edmund von Everdarth. Nice to meet you all. The class whispered to each other. Ah, of course, none that the duo can really pick up on. Does anyone have any questions? Iruka asked. Many raised their hands. Shikamaru. He pointed at the pineapple-haired boy. Why is your clothes so weird? The lazy boy asked, slyly eyes the duo. Which offended the green-haired goddess and slightly saddened the boy in pink. Our clothes are completely normal where we live. Sothis' eye twitched, as she head patted the pink-haired boy, and you're one to talk who wears fishnets for a shirt. I don't take fashion advice from someone like you, she huffed in anger. Making the blonde in a ponytail snicker. The pineapple hair boy muttered something along the lines, what a drag. My sister says I look very handsome. Edmund frowns as he muttered, luckily the Hokage got someone to repair his clothes. But they still look a little beaten up. Next was a girl with light pink hair and teal eyes. She could maybe pass for a female version of Edmund if he was a female with a lighter color palette and with a big forehead too. Do you like anyone in this class? The question was more directed at Sothis than Edmund. Sothis find the question very stupid. I mean out of all the questions she could ask, she asked if she liked anyone she never met. Edmund spoke as he was also dumbfounded by the question. How could I like someone without getting to know them first? Sothis nodded in agreement. Come to think of it, she never really liked someone in a romantic way before. Agreed, if I were to say. It would be Edmund since he is the only one that I know. The girl seemed satisfied with that answer. She didn't mark Sothis as a love rival. At least not yet anyways. Okay, Sothis. Iruka got the goddess' attention. You are going to sit between Naruto and Sasuke. He pointed at the blonde boy she had seen earlier and a boy with hair that looks like a duck butt. Edmund, you will sit next to Choji. He then pointed at a chubby boy with swirls on his cheeks, snacking on some chips. He reminds her of this boy and the golden deer. You will be okay? Sothis faced Edmund, somewhat fearing him with other people he doesn't know. Edmund nodded, of course, I'll be fine. He went to the boy, sitting down next to him. Sothis went over to sit between Naruto and Sasuke, which made the majority of girls stares at her in jealousy. She didn't really care though and didn't really fully understand why, since she had no relationship with anyone yet. Sasuke looked over at the green-haired female, taking in her physical appearance. He never seen anyone like her before and doesn't know any clan or village that dress like her. Which made him somewhat suspicious of the girl, but he won't say anything for the time being. Naruto seemed almost excited that Sothis sat next to him. I'm Naruto Uzumaki, believe it. He gave her a wide grin. I'm going to be the next Hokage. Sothis softly chuckled, almost finding it adorable. Troublesome as Naruto seems, she got the feeling they will get along. Hope we can be friends. Young Naruto, she got the feeling if he was in her world, he would fit perfectly in the golden deer. Iruka got everyone's attention and began saying that they needed to retake a transformation test, thanks to Naruto's actions, which made the class groan in disappointment. But Sothis and Edmund, what ridiculous spell is this? Sothis screeched in confusion and a bit of rage, making everyone look at her oddly. Huh? Spell? Iruka blinked before noticing someone was missing. Wait. Where is? Before anyone could say anything, a girl around Sothis's age broke in. Hair as green as the said goddess but shorter. Sorry I was late. The girl was out of breath as she looked up with a small smile. I went to clean the mountains. Sothis gasped out loud, eyes widened in shock as tears formed in her eyes. Sister? The girl looked at Sothis, eyes equally as wide in shock. Sothis? Sister? Sothis looked at the green-haired female. Her hair was short and smooth compared to her own. Her outfit was more like this world, unlike her own. The other green-haired female's eyes widened as it began tearing up before running and hugging Sothis like if she let go she would disappear. It's been so long. She whispered into Sothis's ear. Voice cracking. Sothis hugged back with just as much feeling. Joy and sadness overwhelmed her. I missed you, before leaning back and breaking the hug. How are you even here? The younger one of the two hummed, seeming hesitant from the gaze from their classmates. I will tell you later. She patted Sothis's shoulder. For now, just play along with their tests and such. Alright then. Sothis mumbled, before looking a bit more confused than she already was. But how does one even do the transformation one? Is that a sort of magic? Numa softly chuckled as she shook her head. They call it chakra. It's not as difficult as you'd think for us. Oh, what a strange name to call it. The longer-haired female said out loud to herself, resting a hand on her cheek in thought. Iruka got the class's attention once more, getting everyone to line up and do the transformation jutsu one by one. When it was Sothis' turn, she transformed into Byleth, which made people, besides Edmund and Numa, wonder who he is. While Edmund and Numa transform into Pyra, Edmund's older sister, she had pink hair and green eyes like Edmund. After classes were finished, Numa took Sothis and Edmund to the back of the school, away from other students. To cut it short, she short-haired female explained everything she knows about the world from Naruto. That makes a lot of sense. Sothis didn't fully grasp the knowledge, but still nodded. But the real question is, how did we get here? The last thing I remember is how my vessel, Byleth, got trapped in the dark void and I had to fuse my spirit with him, and now. She held her head. Numa sighed, also not knowing the answer to that yet. I'm not entirely sure. To be honest, she gave a wary smile. Sothis sighed in disappointment, before looking her sister in the eye. But the more important question is, how are you even alive? Her eyes watered a bit. I thought you. Oh, I never died. Numa smiled as she lightly giggled. I was turned into a sword. I was still able to watch everything was going on. Just unable to interact much with people. Sothis' eyes widened for a moment, before softening a bit. I'm so sorry that happened. Her voice cracked a bit. It must have been so painful to sit in silence for so long. Numa nodded a bit. It was, but it was like watching a long drama play out, giving a dry chuckle. How did that fate become of you? Sothis asked. Worry and hate filled her chest. Was it the fault of the ones who slither? Numa's face said it all when her sister mentioned the ones who slither in the dark. Indeed. She sighed before explaining more. Your daughter was one of the few who survived, went ballistic killing the murderer and starting her own church years later with Sickle and Sethalan. Sothis groaned as she facepalmed. Serious. She finds it cringe-worthy about people worshiping her. She may be powerful, but she never saw herself as a goddess. At least from memory. But your granddaughters though, they are sweethearts. Numa slightly changed the subject, a small pride smile on her. She seen Sethalan, better known to the humans as Flame, and Ray's long-lost daughter Melody in action, and they were kind. They seem like kind souls. Sothis agreed, nodding. If I had a body of my own back then. She paused for a moment, and my memories, I wish I could spend time with them. She cursed fated took her away from her family and family that will never meet or talk to. Indeed. Ninuma felt pity for her older sister, knowing what it's like to not being about to talk to their family in years. Badly wanting to scold Sirios, hug Sethalan, spend time with Sickle. Is there anyone of our kin still alive? Sothis' eyes were pleading with her beloved sister to tell her tinnest bit of good news, or it's just them. Numa paused as she thought. Sickle is, he now goes by Seteth. Seathleen is now Flame. From rumors I also heard Inditch and McQuill are still alive, but other than that, no. The son died in the Battle of Heroes. It pained her to know it's just 5 who remain, not including Melody, their bodies, hearts, turned into weapons and creeds passed down, nobody knowing the truth. Sothis' eyes watered. Tears ran down her face. Her beloved children, people who called family, all my beloved children. Her fists gone into a ball, gone. Just like that. Does nobody even remember their names? Faces? Anything? Most likely no, even Rhea, Seteth and Flame must not remember them fully. Edmund looked upon the goddess in pity. He understands what it's like to lose family. I'm sorry for your losses, he told the sisters. Sothis shook her head, whipping her eyes as they narrow at nothing at all. It's my fault for nothing being able to protect them from their killers. She hissed in rage, grief, sadness, but I hope the next generation could avenge them. Byleth came to mind. He was strong. Stronger than anyone gives them credit for. She has faith he will win. Edmund placed a hand on Sothis' shoulder, giving a kind smile. I'm sure they will, Lady Sothis. That made her feel calm. Knowing he was right. Thank you, Edmund. Sothis placed a hand over his, gently lining back. You are a very kind person. Edmund slight blushed in embarrassment, removing his hand and rubbed his cheek. It's an honor hearing it from you. He chuckles a bit. Sothis sighed, giving a wary smile. But just call me Sothis, which Gaina confused from the boy, because from this point forward we will be friends. Edmund's eyes widened before smiling. Okay, he agreed. Sothis gave Edmund a head pat. Then it's an agreement, which made him let out a small K. Numa soon started explaining how chakra works, the different chakra types, the pros and cons. More that Suthis never really wants to remember. That's the way, so you two don't get confused, she said in glee. The test is tomorrow, but for example, just think of it as magic. I see. Suthis slowly nodded, humming, that's useful. Yeah, it's rather complicated, Numa agreed, nodding. You don't say. Suthis deadpan. Why is this world so different to theirs? But we have to get used to it. It's the only way to survive in this very strange world. Tilda. The trio went back to the class when the break was over. Apparently, they were being assigned to teams. It was something that took Suthis by surprise. She and her sister were both assigned to Team 7, with Naruto, Sakura and Sasuke, who had very mixed feelings about them joining. Why aren't you three on your own team? Sakura asked. In truth, she was more on the bitter side when she heard they were joining Team 7. There are three of you, but you join us? Don't worry about such trivial things, Numa said, calmly. She forced the Hokage to let her and Suthis be on the same group. Suthis nodded in agreement. Also, don't be nosy. What my sister does is her own business. Cue Sakura huffing in annoyance. Tilda. It was lunchtime and the sisters were minding their own business, walking around until they heard Sakura talking about how Naruto is an orphan and alone he is in front of Sasuke. That triggered Suthis, especially to her. Gerald's death was resent and how she left her remaining children alone. Who do you think you are? She turned to Sakura, stomping over to her with Numa right behind her. You know nothing about suffering of ones who lost their parents or those who never made them to begin with. Numa nodded, balling her fists. Saying such things shows how naive and stupid you truly are, she hissed at Sakura. The rage of the sisters were truly scary. Sasuke's eyes widened a bit. He didn't know the sisters would say such stuff, but he tried to keep the surprised he was. Say one more ignorant statement and I won't hesitate to put you in your place. Suthis glared sharply at the pink-haired female. Believe me, I can and would. It scared Sakura. She knew Suthis wasn't playing around. Numa placed a hand on Sothis's shoulder, trying to calm her down. As much I'd enjoy that you shouldn't kill her, Suthis. So just send her to the nearest healer? Suthis huffed in anger. Okay, got it. Numa shook her head, sighing as she began leading Suthis back to the classroom. Let us go back to the classroom, sister, she said, in a calm voice. Suthis huffed once more, agreeing since she had nothing to do. Fine. I got nothing better to do. Tilda. The sisters arrived in the classroom after all the students have left with their senseis took them. But Edmund was still in the classroom, sitting on a desk nearby. From what Suthis heard from her sister, she did something to do with it after hearing Edmund wasn't going to be in the same team as them. So now the trio is on the same team. Edmund? Suthis was a tiny bit surprised. You're here as well? Edmund nodded, smiling after seeing the sisters. Yes, I am. I was told that I was put on your team because Lady Numa wouldn't allow it, he chuckled. Of course, Numa nodded, crossing her arms as she smiled in joy. I think it's more efficient to have all three of us together. Suthis would agree, plus it's safer for him to be on same team as them. She doesn't want Edmund to get hurt or die again. She wouldn't forgive herself if that fate fallen onto him again. Anyways, Numa coughed, getting the other two full attention. I thought it would be best to keep you two up to date with what's happening in our world of birth. You can do that? Suthis blinked in confusion. Of course, I am still Pyra's sword, said the other sister. Numa went to the same desk as Edmund and sat down, with Suthis following and doing the same. She used her abilities to make a small purple window-like portal. It showed Byleth, Melody, who was Byleth's childhood friend, the Blue Lions, the Golden Deer and Church of Saros fighting the Empire soldiers. One of those who slither in the dark blasted Byleth into the abyss, Melody jumping after him and transforming into her dragon form, shielding him from the rock and the falling. Suthis almost had a heart attack from seeing Byleth and Melody pretty much falling to what would be a normal human's death. Fools. How they can be so reckless. They're alive, which surprised me is why your granddaughter didn't just carry him out. Numa sighed seeing how the duo fell into the darkness of the abyss. Suthis sighed, running her hand in her hair. I am not sure myself. She either forgot how to fly or somehow got injured. She deadpan. I blame Saros for both. I failed as a mother. Numa shook her head. Don't blame yourself, sister. Suthis spoke up again. I can't help it. But, she took a deep breath. I hope my kin would be okay. Don't worry. Edmund tried to cheer Suthis up. I'm sure the professors would survive. Just then, the door opened which made Numa close the magic window before the person can see it. It turned out to be Sasuke Uchiha. Oh, Sasuke. Sudhis turned her head towards the boy, you're here early. Sasuke looked over at the trio, nodding his head towards Sudhis. How come I never seen the two of you in the village before? He asked. He seen Numa before, but never Sudhis and Edmund. It was weird to him. Sudhis quickly coming up with a lie. Oh, because you never ran into us before. It was a weak excuse, but she had to say something. Sasuke eyed them, suspiciously, whatever. He went to his desk and sat down, seeming thinking of something. Sudhis pouted a bit. Nice to meet you two, sunshine, she sighed. He reminds me of Felix. Edmund muttered, remembering how Felix is always suspicious and angry towards pretty much everyone. Numa leaned closer to Sudhis, smiling as she whispered into her ear. You always had a thing for the silent type, sister, she giggled. Teasing the older goddess. Sudhis blushed a bit before replying in frustration. I just tend to attract them for some reason. Indeed you do, Numa smiled brighter. Silence fell over the room. Minutes have passed and admitting it was a bit uncomfortable, until Edmund has to ask, is Pyra okay? Lady Numa? He was worried for his sister. She always took care of him since he was a baby. It pains him to not be with her now. Yes, she is fine, Numa said, plainly. Trying to reassure Edmund, she's just taking care of your future brother-in-law and taking care of sweet Bernadetta and little Lorelei. That poor girl. Sudhis' sweat dropped, feeling bad for the girl since she has to deal with a baby, a girl with many issues and a man who is on his last sting of sanity. Sasuke was listening to their conversation. Who were they talking about? What was happening? He thinks they were planning something evil. Probably best to keep an eye on them. Naruto and Sakura came in not too much later. Sakura started simping over Sasuke, which annoyed Sudhis but tried to ignore it. Naruto who came back from the bathroom. Oh, Naruto, Sudhis smiled and floated over to the boy. I see you returned. Yep, can't wait to meet our new sensei. Naruto was shaking in excitement. Sudhis can tell he was ready to be a ninja, but she can't help but feel like he doesn't fully understand the dangers of missions. Hours passed. It took a long time for their sensei to show up. Naruto put an eraser above the door to prank their new teacher, which Sakura needed up scolding him for and Sasuke doubted it would even work. Until it actually did when a silver-haired male with 90% of his face covered walked through the door. The eraser fell on his head, bouncing off it and falling onto the ground. The room fell silent outside of Naruto and Sudhis snickered in amusement. Naruto laughed heartily. Haha, you fell for it. I'm so sorry, sensei. Sakura stood up and walked over. I tried to stop him, well not. My first impression. The man paused, as you're all idiots. Making the students deadpan. Edmund pouted, I miss the professors now. At least Byleth and Melody never insulted the students. Or at least not to their faces. Sudhis head patted Edmund as she glared harshly at the man, upset at him saying Edmund was an idiot. The man ignored the reactions of his new students. Let's go to the rooftop. He then disappeared with some smoke. After everyone made it to the roof, the group sat down while the man was in front of them. They found out his name was Kakashi Hatake. But literally nothing else, so he told them to introduce themselves. My name is Sudhis, the green-haired began speaking. I enjoy sleeping mostly, spending time with people I care for. She began thinking more of what she enjoys and dislikes. I guess that's it. What I dislike? Idiots, people disturbing my rest, and people. I'm Numa. I enjoy my big sister and spending time with her, and others I dislike liars and stupid mortals. The others besides Edmund and Sudhis looked at her weird when she said, mortals? I plan to kill those who have wronged me and my family. I also enjoy sweets. Team 7 looked at the goddess duo intrigued by this. Especially Kakashi and Sasuke, they can tell they are more that meets the eye. I am Edmund von Everdarth. Edmund began his introduction. I enjoy hanging out with my friends and my sister. I like training, spending time with people I care for, protecting those who can't protect themselves. I also really love my older sister, Pyra. I dislike people who are disrespectful and think they're above it all. Sudhis mostly didn't pay attention to the other introductions. She mostly zoned out for the majority of it, until Kakashi said to meet him tomorrow in the morning with no breakfast. Why not? I haven't eaten since. Sudhis paused as she thought for a minute. When did she eat again? When I last actually ate? Numa sighed. We ate yesterday. Sister, she shouldn't be surprised that Sudhis is somewhat forgetful. Sudhis chuckled awkwardly, rubbing the back of her head. Yes. I forgot. Everyone who remained deadpan at that reply. Tilda. The next day, the Fulden trio went early than the rest of Team 7. Edmund and Sudhis were half sleepy. Who can blame them? Edmund is a young human who needs sleep, and Sudhis is so used to sleeping and not walking around on her own. Numa sat down by a tree. Edmund was on her right while Sudhis is on her left, resting their heads on her shoulder, trying not to fall asleep. The younger goddess had the magic mirror open again, seeing the professor duo still in deep sleep in a river. Your vessel and granddaughter are still asleep, she mused, staring at the duo. I guess this is what happens when my vessel and one is a dragon. Sudhis muttered, yawning as she looked at the mirror. She's seen her dragon children sleep for a few years, days or months. Numa switched the scene to Rhea sitting in a cell. She looks paler than she is, hair much longer than it was and bags under her eyes. Sirius got captured by the Empire. She said, pity and sadness, that all Sudhis can hear in her voice. She can't blame her. Rhea may have done things she never would approve of, but she is still her daughter and last remaining children. Edmund seemed to be just as saddened and worried. Will this war stop? He asked, his voice slightly cracked under the pressor. I miss the old peace we had back then. He missed his friends, his sister, his professors, classmates. He is too young to be dragged into such a mess. He doesn't understand why Edelgard could start a war, willing to sacrifice the many, and to what end. Hopefully soon, Sudhis spoke, trying to calm the younger boys worried. She could tell it was eating away at them. I just hope the children are safe. How are they anyways? She wanted to know the students were safe. Our beloved blue lions well. They're fine? Numa paused, her eyes narrowing slightly. Young Dimitri is going on his rampage, trying to kill all the enemies within 10 miles of him. She touched the mirror. It glitched to moments of Dimitri. How he lost his eye when escaping prison when Dedu sacrificed himself for him. How he slowly lost his mind in talking to the dead, killing people who don't deserve such a fate even when they did something that may be wrong, right now there. Sothis' eyes widen, her heat beating faster and faster. They're alive. No, she cared for the prince. His fate cannot be dead, not yet. Numa didn't say a word as she moved the mirror to the present time. Edmund's older sister Pyra was fighting their father, who was a part of the ones who slither in the dark, ripping out her left eyes with little to no feeling. Sudhis and Edmund's eyes widen. Shock, anger, sadness and fear clear on their faces. Why does everyone keep losing eyes? Edmund felt sick to his stomach. His own sister, who pretty much raised him, is getting beaten by their father. His sister is losing, dying, suffering, and he is not there to. Tears ran down his face as he watched this go down. The pathetic child, said Edmund's father as he stands over the bleeding Pyra. I never understood on why you would protect such a waste of a life. A defective child. He isn't worthy of my bloodline. Pyra stood up in a rage, swinging her blade at her father. Don't talk about my brother like that, she hissed at him. Her father dodged effortless as he kept going. And you are weak for defending him. He gave a few punches in. Love is a weakness. Friendship is a weakness. You are weakness itself. Doing what I asked just for that little boy, who still ended up dead. Dimitri attacked him from behind. Just as angry as Pyra. Both of their crests activated as that gave them the advantage to finally kill him. Sudhis sighed in relief as the man was finally defeated as her sister turned of the mirror. That's enough for now, said Numa as Team 7 finally arrived around 5-ish in the morning. The sisters said their hellos to the team and was socializing, while Edmund wasn't as chatty as he normally would be. His mind was someplace else. He feels like he is to blame for this sister's fate. His own sister is suffering and he can't help her. His friends are nowhere to be seen and Dimitri is on the very last string on sanity. Sudhis was worried for the young boy, but didn't say anything and gave him some space. She knew it must be hard for him to see his sister and brother-in-law fight a family member, even if they were not on the best terms. This is ridiculous. We had to wake up so early just for Sensei to not even show up. Sakura whined as she crossed her arms. It was an hour since they arrived and Kakashi has yet to show. I didn't get to blow dry my hair or anything. Sothis' eye twitched a bit. Honestly, she didn't see the use of getting all dolled up but then getting all sweaty. But then again Hilda, Dorothea and Mercedes does the same thing and are really good fighters. Lady Numa. Edmund spoke up after what felt like forever, is there any way back home? Numa turned her head to the boy. Her lips are in a thin line as she stared at him. I found out that only sister and I can go back. She knew the news would break it, her as a spirit however me as myself. Sothis's eyes widened some. Her heart broke for Edmund, that means. She paused before saying, he can never go home. Before anyone could say anything, Edmund punched the tree he was laying on. The tree fell apart from the force alone, but it did made his hand bleed some, damn it all. Edmund. Sothis hurried to his side, her voice and eyes soft as she gave him a hug, I am so sorry. Edmund was shaking, from fear, anger, sadness, and possibly more erosions. My sister is out there struggling no. She's always been struggling. Just to keep my safe while I was ignorant of it all. He sniffed. Tears rolled down his face, Pyra. Sothis pulled the boy to her chest rubbing his head in a smoothing manner, Edmund, you are not at fault here. Your sister wanted to shield you from the dark truth. She said, gently, if anyone is at fault in the situation, it's that pathetic excuse of a father. You were powerless in the situation and were kept in the dark. There was no way you could have known what was going on. Edmund remained silent as he sniffed. He knew Sothis was right. You're right. I just wish I could have been done more for her. He looked at his hand, which was bruised and bleed. No, I know I'm here to do something important and I'll do it whatever it is. Sothis nodded, as she stood up, that's the spirit. She gave a small smile, let's not waste this second chance at life. Edmund nodded, yeah, he wanted to do everything in his power to prove his father wrong and make his sister proud. Tilda. Kakashi showed up, of course the ground was annoyed and mad that he showed up later than what he said. He brushed it off and explained what the group was meant to do, which was collect 5 bells from him. If not then they will all fail. Oh, what fun, Sothis beamed. This was her chance to use her powers after so long, but it's unlikely to get a bell 1 versus 1. She was rusty, and she and her sister didn't want to show their full abilities yet. Edmund took a step forward and spoke up. I think we should all work together Lady Sothis and Lady Numa. Sasuke seemed to agree with that idea but didn't say it out loud. What a marvelous idea. Sothis clapped her hands together. Seems like someone has brains in this team. That made Sakura and Naruto's eye twitch. Thanks to the professor, Edmund beamed in joy, some pride in his tone. Indeed, Numa nodded, stretching her body. Let's go with your plan. I need to stretch my bones again, Sothis hummed, having a somewhat dangerous glint in her eyes. Kakashi decided to say, you can use weapons. He knew it would be most a fair fight, or at least he thinks so. But sensei, Sakura spoke up, worry in her tone, weapons are dangerous. Sothis waved her hand at Sakura. A little cut from a weapon wouldn't kill you. You will be fine. She earned herself a weird look from the girl she was talking to. This isn't a battle to the death, so don't worry. Before anyone can do anything, Naruto went to attack Kakashi. Naruto, hissed Sothis. She was about to step in when Kakashi easily folded Naruto like he was nothing. Okay, now go, said the gray-haired man. Sothis was ticked off by Kakashi. Sister, Edmund. With me, she stated as she floated in the air. Right, got it. Numa opened the palm of her hand and summoned her sword. A serious look on her face as Team 7 looked at her in shock and amazement. Sothis suddenly felt the feeling to do the same. She reached her hand outward as a bone-like sword appears in her hand. A shocked look was on her face just like everyone else. The professor's sword? Edmund was shocked as his professor's sword appeared in the goddess's hands. I didn't know I can summon this. Sothis spoke out loud and thought, but I guess it is my spine, so makes sense. Numa stared at the sword, her eyes widened before smiling softly at her sister. I mean it makes sense but let's not focus on that right now. The Fodlan trio began their assault on Kakashi. Their teamwork was impressive and forced Kakashi to take this battle seriously. Putting aside his book, to his dismay, to block and attack the trio. Naruto, Sasuke and Naruto stared at the Fulden trio. They were shocked at their fighting style and never saw any ninja or clan fight like them before. Which made the trio more of an oddity than they were already. Wow, Naruto was staring in awe as he saw Sothis using the sword of the creator. That is so awesome. Kakashi went to retreat from the trio. Damn it, mumbled Suthis as she looked around. I guess we should check around for him. Edmund nodded. We should split into two groups. We shouldn't be fighting him alone, he agreed with the eldest goddess. Before the trio could relay this message to the others, Naruto, Sakura and Sasuke disappeared, seeming going after Kakashi by themselves. Are you kidding me? Suthis' laughter couldn't be kept in as she laughed at the sight of Sasuke was in a hole and only his head appeared. The group searched for a good minute for their teammates, until they heard fighting and went to investigate and saw Sasuke was nothing more than a head. Shut up, Sasuke hissed as he blushed in embarrassment, glaring at the long-haired goddess. That made Suthis laugh harder until her voice calmed down. PFF. This is adorable, she snickers. Almighty Sasuke is just a head. How did you even end up like that? Sasuke hissed at her once more. Doesn't matter. Okay, let's get you out. Edmund helped Sasuke get out of the hole with some help with Numa. This was when Sakura showed up. She was happy to see Sasuke until she saw the group being too close to him, especially Suthis. Sakura stomped over to Suthis, putting her hand on her shoulder to push her away from Sasuke. Stay away from my Sasuke, you tramp. Suthis pointed at herself, seeming unfazed by the comment. You're talking about me? She laughed a bit. Isn't that funny? That made Sakura madder. She didn't get to do anything because grabbed her by the collar of her shirt to pull her away from the goddess. How rude. Teammate or not, I won't let you badmouth the go. He then corrected himself. Lady Suthis. His glare was harsh. Honestly, it was similar to his sister's. Scary, you're her teammate and she is high above you in ranks of anything. Yet you have the nerve to say such nonsense and calling her a tramp no less. Who raised you? Suthis went to put a hand on Edmund's shoulder. Edmund, calm down. I appreciate you defending me, but there is no use in snapping at her. Especially over something stupid as thinking I am going to steal her Sasuke. She wanted to gag at the phrase, her Sasuke. Edmund let go of the now shaken Sakura. Right, sorry, he looked a bit guilty. Suthis gave him a head pat, seeming understanding his point of view. Thank you, anyways. Which made Edmund nod. Then she looked at Sakura. Not everyone wants a boy. Especially a girl who just met him, plus last time I checked he isn't yours. So before spitting insults, get some common sense first. The made Sakura cringe, feeling embarrassed. Especially since Sasuke also looked amused at what Suthis said. Suthis sighed in defeat. How did this even happen? Naruto was tied up to a pole for trying to steal some food that Kakashi made them for lunch. Understandable? Yes, since they didn't have breakfast. Idiotic? Also yes. Only 3 of you passed. Wait, Kakashi was talking? Suthis didn't pay that much attention since she was lost in thought, all alone, for a good minute. Sakura cheered, thinking she, Naruto and Sasuke passed until the gray-haired male popped her bubble. Not you. It was Suthis, Edmund and Numa. They understood the meaning of this test. Sasuke got angry and went to attack Kakashi, who easily pinned him to the ground. Sakura was pissed before Kakashi started scolding them about the meaning of teamwork. Honestly, Suthis was surprised the group didn't get that until now. Kakashi let go of Sasuke and told the group to eat before trying again, but not to feed Naruto before disappearing. Suthis sat with her food. Honestly, it made her feel a bit weird to hold solid food. She then looked at the hungry Naruto. She felt pity. It hurt her to see him so hungry and in pain. She decided she didn't care about being a ninja. She is a goddess, for crying out loud. She can do what she wants. She began feeding Naruto as Sakura glared at the goddess. What are you doing? You will get us in trouble. Sasuke began doing the same. We need Naruto at full strength if we are to defeat Sensei. He began feeding Naruto, which made Sakura cave in and started doing the same. Just then, Kakashi showed up in a puff of smoke. You. Honestly, Suthis was impressed of the amount of wind that appeared with him. You said this was a 3-man squad, right? Sasuke spoke up, his eyes narrowing at the older male. We are all in it together. Sakura then spoke as well. Yeah, we are all a team and we are all one. She had gained a little respect from Suthis when she said that. Believe it, Naruto yelled from the pole. That's right. Edmund and Numa nodded in agreement. They as well are willing to listen to whatever is to come. Kakashi slowly walked towards the group. You pass. That took them off guards. The group was confused as Kakashi began explaining. that they were the first to pass and how people who abandon their friends are scum. Stuff like that. Suthis was just happy this was over. What wonderful news. Suthis giggled in joy, kind of wish the kids find that out a bit sooner. Naruto started down at her in confusion. That you're a kid too? Suthis paused, thinking over her words carefully. Let's put a pin in that conversation, shall we? Because technically yes and no, that made the boy more confused but agreed anyways. The goddess then yawned. Now, let's go home. Shall we? I need a nap after this. She tiredly chuckled. You'd think after such a long nap you'd be more awake, her younger sister shook her head, amused at the fact Suthis is normally so sleepy. Suthis pouted, well, after putting up with people's nonsense, I deserve a good rest. Tilda. The Fodlan trio stepped into their apartment after spending time with their new teammates. It was a nice place for 4 or 5 people. More than enough room for the 3 of them. Suthis yawned, stretching her arms. This was a long day. Who knew this will be so draining? I am going to bed. Sister, it's only 4 p.m. Numa started as she went to the kitchen to grab an apple. It's too early. No, no. She deserves her rest. The trio's eyes snapped to where the voice came from. It was their new sensei, Kakashi, reading his weird book on their sofa. Sensei? Edmund asked, eyes widened in shock and surprise. What are you doing here? Kakashi just rolled his one visible eye. Is that the way to treat your new roommate? What? The Fulden trio stared at Kakashi in shock, dumbfounded and confusion. Having many questions in mind. So, you're living with us? Asked Suthis slowly and carefully. Still heavily confused on the current situation at hand. Kakashi gave a sharp nod, looking up from his book, only for a while. Lord Third said he'd rather keep you all under supervision. Tilda. So, you want me to babysit them? Kakashi was in the Hokage's office. He stood in front was of the 3rd Hokage, who was smoking in his pipe. The 3rd Hokage puffed up some smoke, letting out a small hum. Not the words I would put it, but pretty much, he placed pipe down on the table. I need someone to keep an eye on them. They are not from this world and need guidance and protection. They seem to protect themselves just fine. Kakashi rubbed the back of his head, remembering the beatdown the Fodlan trio gave him. The 3rd Hokage let out a small chuckle before getting serious. I know people will be after them from this world and possibly those who have made traveled to this one from theirs. Numa may know our enemies, but Suthis and Edmund don't. People may try to use them to destroy the leaf or the world. Kakashi nodded in understanding. He was aware the Akatsuki are probably the biggest problem if they find out about the Fulden trio. The ability to control time is dangerous, but in the hands of people like the Akatsuki is even more. Who knows what kind of troubles that group will do with it. But then again, Kakashi felt like this was out of his league. Not that he doesn't have confidence in his own skills. He is one of the strongest in the leaf, but then again, he was unsure if he can handle the Akatsuki by himself if one of them were to show up. That's also not mentioning any unknown enemies that may show and try to take or even kill the Fulden trio. At the end of the day, he is going to be fighting unknown enemy. But then again, that's what he signed up for the moment he decided to become a ninja. Every enemy is unknown and dangerous. Not only to protect his village but for those who cannot protect themselves. Even though Suthis, Edmund and Numa can defend themselves pretty well from what he has seen. Very well, Kakashi spoke, finally making his choice. Plus it's temporary, right? Not like he has to live with them long term or have to protect them forever. Just keep an eye out for them, leave it to me. Tilda. Numa just was annoyed during this whole conversation. I survived just fine by myself and I am sure I can protect my own sister and Edmund. To a certain level, that is true. Numa managed to stay away from the public eye for years. Nobody has yet defined her in the leaf or was aware of her powers. I can protect myself and Edmund, ya know? Sothis's eye twitch in annoyance. She hated the feeling of being treated like a child, even though she technically looks like one and in the eyes of many, is one. Yes, but now there are more of you, Kakashi pointed out, crossing his arms as he placed his book down, and people will find out one way or another. And who knows, enemies from your world may show up. We rather not risk them finding you and using your power for themselves. The trio can't argue with that logic, and as strange as Kakashi is, he doesn't seem to have any ill intentions with them. Outside of his very questionable taste in reading chooses. Seriously, what joy does he get from that? Suthis didn't really want to know. Anyways, can I take a nap now? Tilda. Sasuke, I'm at point B. Sakura, I'm at point C. Numa, point D. Edmund, here are point E. Suthis, point F. Naruto, I'm at point A. Believe it. Kakashi sighed, inching the bridge of his nose in disappointment, to slow Naruto. Okay, Squad 7. He paused, noticing their prey has moved. The target has moved. Follow it. The 6 members moved towards the bushes, using the trees as cover. Suthis really found this pointless. Why can't she just use her abilities to just grab the damn feline? What's your distance from the target? Asked Kakashi, who was a good distance away. Speaking through this thing called a mic. 5 meters, said the dark, pink-haired male, we're ready. Just give the signal. Okay, now. Team 7 jumped into actions, cornering the brown cat. Suthis was first to pick up the cat, gentle holding him in her arms. Such a small thing. Suthis hummed as the cat. Byleth spent a lot of time with animals in the monastery, mainly cats. She grew somewhat fond of the creatures. Can you verify a ribbon? Right ear? Asked Kakashi. Why was he still hiding in the trees? The mission is just to pick up one cat. Yes, sir, Edmund said as he went over to pet the cat. He purred a bit under the touch. We got a positive ID. Tilda. Suthis now understood why the cat, now known as Tora, ran away. He was being smushed to death by the owner. If she was that cat, she would run away too. Better at it, dig a hole and die. I miss the missions back at the academy, Suthis said, mainly to herself, like I know they are dangerous but at least more entertaining than this. Lately these missions bored her. The first few were okay but lately they were getting the same old story. Yeah, Edmund somewhat like the easygoing missions, but they didn't feel the same as the ones back at the academy in Fulden. Numa had her hands behind her back, humming in agreement, and Ayla she was entertaining to watch. Yeah, that red-haired girl. Suthis remembers her from mostly working in the Golden Deer class but does often come along in missions for the Blue Lions, due to the class being fond of her. Funny that woman was. Yeah, good times, Suthis said. Oh, how much she missed her world. Yes, it wasn't perfect but it was hers. She missed Byleth, the students, her granddaughters. Suthis has zoomed out of whatever conversation Team 7 was having with the Hokage, even when Naruto started yelling about how he wasn't a little kid anymore. Like she said, she didn't pay any attention. At least until this smelly guy walked in, pretty sure he is somewhat drunk. What the guy stared at Team 7 in shock, annoyance and a bit of disappointment. A bunch of little snot-nosed kids? Before drinking more of his beer? Or was it alcohol? Suthis didn't care. Suthis stared back, surprised when Lord Third said this guy was the one they were supposed to protect, him. When the man finished his drink, he leaned against the wall, and you two, the ones with the pointy ears and weird clothes, and you, the one with the idiotic look on your face. You really expect me to believe you three are ninja? Naruto started laughing. Who's the one with the idiotic look on his face? He had his hands on his hips. Sucks to be him. Team 7 lined up. Sasuke was the tallest, then Edmund, then Sakura, then Naruto. Suthis and Numa were around the same height. Suthis took note that she looked a bit taller, but that could be because of her hair. Suthis then realized, did that man just insult her, her sister and Naruto? We'll demolish you. Kakashi held back Naruto with ease while Numa held back a very annoyed and upset Suthis. You both can't demolish the client, Naruto. Suthis. It doesn't work that way. Sister, calm yourself. Numa said before sighing. We really need to get you new clothes after this mission. Come to think of it, why are they taking so long to even go shopping? Oh well. The man said his name was Tazuna, a master bridge builder. Something about returning to his home country and needs protection until he completes his mission, which the group agreed to. Some more willingly than others. Tilda. After packing, the group began to leave the village. Naruto seemed to be the most excited about leaving since, from what he claimed, never left the village before. Which Tazuna scoffed at. Naruto pointed at Tazuna, annoyed. Someday, I'm gonna be Hokage and you'll look up to me. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. Remember it. Will the old man even live that long? Suthis thought to herself. She somewhat doubts it since the man has a drinking problem and will probably be dead in the next few years. If not this one. Sothis's ear twitched. She heard movement coming from the forest. She turned her head, facing the direction of the forest. Nobody was there. She could have sworn she heard at least 2 people running in their direction. Sister? Numa tapped Sothis' shoulder, getting the older goddess's attention. We're leaving. Sothis didn't notice the group was ahead of herself and her sister. The older goddess didn't realize how lost in thought, all alone, she was. I guess she should brush off the feeling of being watched for now. Sothis and Numa catch up to the group just in time to hear Sakura ask Tazuna, "Hey, Mr. Tazuma? What now?" asked the barely sober man, already annoyed with whatever the cherry blossom gal was going to ask. "You're from the land of waves, right?" Sakura asked. Didn't he already answer that earlier? Oh, well. Sothis didn't really care. Tazuna rolled his eyes. Yeah, what of it? Sakura then looked at Kakashi. Kakashi-sensei? Are there ninja in that contrary too, aren't there? Remind me again why she is dubbed the smart one. Numa leaned over to whisper to the older goddess, earning a snicker from the sleepy goddess. Kakashi paused before answering, no. There is no ninja in the land of waves. But in other countries, there are hidden villages, he said, each with their own customs and cultures, where ninja reside. Sothis blanked out when Kakashi started to explain about the different ninja lands and such. Numa explained it to her and Edmund before in more detail. So, there was no need to pay any attention now. Well, there are no battles in a C-rank mission. So, you can relax. Kakashi had a close-eyed smile, patting Edmund's head as he tried to calm the nerves of his students. Numa eyes Tazuna, taking a note when she noticed him tense up when Kakashi said there would be no battles. It made her think he was hiding something. They walked further along the trail, mostly in silence. Sothis noticed something odd. There was a puddle on the side of the path. This wouldn't be odd if it had rained recently, but it hasn't. Also, even if it had, why is there only one water puddle in the middle of nowhere and not anywhere else? Why are you staring at a puddle? Sakura asked Sothis, noticing said goddess stopping in her tracks. You never saw one before? Were you born to never shut up? Sothis asked Sakura, not even looking at the pink-haired female. She summoned the sword of the creator and aimed at the puddle. Just then, the puddle disappeared swiftly and jumped out two men, chains in their hands. The duo went for Kakashi, wrapping the chains around the man before ripping him apart. Everyone stared in shock for a moment before Edmund and Sothis jumped into action. The eldest goddess summoned the sword of the creator, using it to cut the chain in half with ease. The aiming the sword and using it to pin one of the Chunin brothers to a tree. Edmund grabbed a kunai, quickly jumping into action. He used this opportunity to slice the other Chunin brother's throat when he was too focused on Sothis. Kakashi showed up from seemingly nowhere. When looking at the rubble when Kakashi was killed, there was wood instead of flesh, much to the students' and Tazuna's relief. Kakashi turned to face the orange jumpsuit ninja. Naruto, sorry I didn't help you right away. I didn't mean for you to get hurt. I just didn't think you'll freeze up like that. He was injured? Sothis turned her head to look at Naruto. Seeing his hand was bleeding. One of the brothers must have targeted him when she wasn't looking. It made her angry. Kakashi turned his attention to Sothis and Edmund, giving a closed eye smiled. Good job Sothis, you too, Edmund. Naruto balled his non-injured fist. He felt useless. He couldn't help but envy Sothis and Edmund in this battle. He felt like he could have done something besides getting hurt. Hey, Naruto heard Sasuke's voice. He looked at the emo duck. You're not hurt are ya? Scaredy cat. Sasuke smirked at Naruto. This made the blonde upset and the female goddess. Sasuke, don't speak such foolish things. It's only natural to be afraid in a life or death situation when you've never been on the battlefield before. Sothis scolded Sasuke, her glare fixed onto him. For some reason, the crushed Sasuke a little bit on the inside. Before Naruto could charge at Sasuke, Numa stopped Naruto from moving. Don't move too much. The ninja who attacked you used poison. It's best healing it as soon as possible. That made Naruto flinch. Kakashi began interrogating Tazuna. We need to talk. The white-haired male explained why he let the students do the fighting, to know who the Chunin were after. Calling out Tazuna for lying about who is truly after him. Before this could go anywhere, Naruto stabbed his hand where he got poisoned, giving some speech about never giving up or something. Sothis just find the action more reckless than anything. Does he realize the blood lose will most likely kill him faster than the poison? Asked Edmund, leaning closer towards Sothis. Naruto overheard and began freaking out. Sothis let out a heavy sigh, walking closer to Naruto. Give me your hand, child. Naruto slowly showed his bloody hand to Suthis. The goddess began using healing magic on him. She recalled the lessons Byleth had teach his students. Mainly his magic ones, Mercedes and Annette. Or did she already know healing magic before? She can't fully recall, but that matters little. She just wanted Naruto to be safe. Naruto stared in awe as his hand quickly heals, almost like he never stabbed his hand in the first place. Thank you, Suthis. You're the best. Suthis gave Naruto a small smile. It was nice to be appreciated. There now. Is gratitude so much to ask? I did deem you worth healing. After dealing with the last Chunin, the group began heading to the land of waves. After Kakashi had realized they can't turn back on Tazuna now. Well, shish asterisk, Suthis mumbled to herself. She should embrace herself for a long annoying journey ahead. The boat ride there was a pain to Suthis. The fog bothered her a lot and the small boat was very cramped. She was stuck between Sasuke and her sister for most of the ride there. She rested her head on Sasuke's shoulder. Hopefully drifting off to sleep can ease the annoyance of the trip. The young Uchiha's body became stiff when Sothis's head touched his shoulder. He wasn't sure if he should let her sleep on him or not, but ultimately decided to let her do so. Sakura saw this and huffed in jealousy before she could say or do anything. The younger goddess gave the bubblegum ninja a glare, raising a finger to her lips. She knew Suthis will throw a fit if she was forced to be awake during this ride. The pink-haired female huffed, just remaining silent on the whole ride there. Edmund snickered in amusement. Much to everyone's, mainly Sothis's, relief. They made it to dry land safely and quickly. They said their goodbyes to the driver before heading off to the village. Suthis didn't pay much attention to what the others are saying. She just wants to get this job over with. This place makes her uneasy. It reminds her of that one battle with Ash's adoptive father. The poor boy. Over there. Naruto suddenly yelled, throwing a kunai at a bush. Everyone grew very tense before a little white bunny coming out of the bush, looking horrified like it just saw a murder. Poor thing, Suthis said as she went up to pick up the scared bunny. Having it in her arms as she pet it gently. Naruto ran up the green-haired female and started apologizing to the animal like he actually stabbed it. Namuna paused, her lips became a thin line as she stared at the bunny. It was a snow bunny. It shouldn't be in this area. Something isn't right. Look out. Suddenly, a sword came out of the trees and aiming towards the group. The group got down to the ground for cover and the sword barely missed them. The sword made it to a tree and embraced itself onto it. In a flash, appeared. His back was faced to the team. Nut had his head tilted to see them. To Suthis, he somewhat looked like a cow. Maybe because of his arm things. The air grew tense as the group stood back on their feet. The bunny Suthis was holding jumped out of her arms and ran off to who knows where. It was clear the man on that weird sword is here for trouble. Well, if it isn't Zabuza Momochi, Kakashi spoke as he took steps forward to the man, now known as Zabuza, Rouge Ninja from the village hidden in the mist. Rouge Ninja? Suthis thought as she narrowed her eyes at Zabuza. This confirmed her worries about this turning ugly fast. Naruto tried running at Zabuza, but Kakashi stopped him by putting a hand in front of him. You're in the way. The older man didn't even bother in giving Naruto a glance, keeping his gaze on Zabuza. Get back. But why? Naruto snapped. He's not like those other ninja. Kakashi corrected. He's on a whole other league. He then reached for his headband. If he's our opponent, I'll need this. Zabuza seemed almost impressed, almost curious as he spoke. Kakashi of the Sharingan Eye. Did I get that right? Getting no reply from the man in question, he continued, it's too bad, huh? But you have to hand over the old man. Manji formation. Kakashi told Team 7 quickly. The form was supposed to be a protective circle around a person, and stay out of this fight. I taught you teamwork, now it's time to use it. Kakashi removed his headband up, revealing in it underneath a red eye with 3 red swirls, shocking Team 7. Especially Sasuke. Well, looks like I get to see the Sharingan in action, Zabuza said as he fully turned to face the group. You can pretty much hear the smirk in his voice. This is an honor. Everyone keeps saying, Sharingan, Sharingan. Can someone please tell me what a Sharingan is? Naruto demanded. Suthis doesn't blame him for acting like that. She barely knows what it is if it wasn't explained to her by her sister. Sasuke began explaining about the special yet rare dojutsu in question and how it can copy any ability and much more. It was clear it was a bit of a touchy subject for him, but now isn't the place to talk about it. Zabuza grew tired of this small talk, so he quickly moved to the river. Moving his left arm into the air and his right balled into his mouth. Ninja art. Hidden mist jutsu. Suddenly, a thick mist surrounded the area. Coving Zabuza like the mist ate him whole. Team 7 immediately went into a defensive position around Tazuna. 3 members in the front while the other 3 from behind. Seconds feel like minutes. It feels like Zabuza is a predator messing with its prey. Suthis hated this type of silence. Some part of her wonder if this is how Byleth's victims must have felt back when he was still a mercenary. But now isn't the time to feel nostalgic or think of the what-ifs. 8 points. Zabuza's voice rang around the group, making it hard to pinpoint his location: larynx, spine, lungs, liver, jugular, subclavian artery, kidneys, heart. Now, which one will be my kill point? It feel like Zabuza was trying to scare the group, which Suthis isn't sure if it is working on the younger members. Just then, Kakashi used his chakra to clear the mist around them. Making it easier to see, calm down, the older male said. Nobody has noticed that Sasuke was shaking in fear. I will protect you with my life. All of you. I will not allow my comrades to die. Trust me. Before anyone had time to react, Zabuza appeared in between Team 7 and Tazuna. It's over. Before Zabuza even had the chance at killing Tazuna, Kakashi took this chance to stab the mercenary. Which in reality was just a water clone. The real one was behind Kakashi and quickly slashed Kakashi into 2. Luckily, that was a water clone as well. The real Kakashi did a Uno reverse and appeared behind Zabuza, a dagger behind his neck. A lot of talking happened to the point Suthis stopped listening after that point. All she can recall is Zabuza soon trapping Kakashi in a water prison, leaving Team 7 to fend for themselves. Suthis removed herself from her spot in the formation. Sister, you believe it's time to stop holding back? Numa followed after her sister, popping her knuckles. I'd say, let's not destroy the whole planet. Don't want that to almost happen again. Suthis rolled her eyes as the very distant Momoy. Numa turned her attention to Edmund, who was still standing his spot. Edmund, protect the children. Earning a nod and a small, on it, from the dark pink hair boy. Sakura tried to protest. Were they really going to fight Zabuza by themselves? You can't just, she was shut up by a glare from Numa. The younger goddess spoke, sternly, watch your language, child, or I'll let you get in the crossfire. She then summoned her sword before charging at Zabuza with almost inhuman speeds. Slashing her blade at him, forcing him to dodge and release Kakashi. Have faith in us, we know what we're doing. Suthis popped her knuckles before using her magic to summoning her sword. Like her sister, charge at Zabuza but this time at a distance. Using the sword like whip. Kakashi breathed from being released from the jutsu, looking over at the 2 goddesses. Wait, it's too dangerous. But his words fell onto deaf ears. He shouldn't be worried, he's seen them in action before in training and knows they're powerful. Why is he worried? Suthis and Numa were handling Zabuza with ease, much to Team 7, minus Edmund's and Kakashi's, surprise. It forced him into a corner. Before either of them can finish him off, 2 senbon needles stabbed him in the neck. It happened so fast, no one saw it coming. Everyone turned to a nearby tree and saw a, not too much older than Naruto himself, standing on one of the branches. He wore a dark green shinobi's clothes and has a white mask with red markings on it. On the forehead has the markings of the village hidden in the mist. The boy zoomed down, bowing his head towards the group. Thank you. I've been tracking Zabuza for a long time, waiting for this chance to finally take him down. Something about this boy doesn't sit right with Suthis. She can't put her finger on it, but something about him screams he has other motives with Zabuza. By your mask, I see you're a tracker ninja from the village hidden in the mist. Kakashi took note of the mask on the boy. This makes Suthis wonder, why not just use a spell? Then she remembered ninja don't have magic, which makes her mentally facepalm. The boy raises his head, you can pretty much hear the smile in his tone. Impressive. You're well informed. Naruto was about to fight the boy before Edmund stopped him. Sakura then went on a whole lesson about tracker ninjas and their roles. Suthis blocked her voice out, she really didn't care. Not too long later, the boy took Zabuza away. Much to Naruto's disappointment, Kakashi comforted him before fainted from overusing his Sharingan. Numa checked on him, sighing in relief. He is alive. That relived the rest of the team. What the heck was that? Naruto yelled, pointing at the sisters. How did you fight that guy like that? Suthis sighed. Just help us pick up the old man. Edmund and Naruto went to pick up Kakashi, struggling a bit due to how heavy the older man is. Tazuna began leading the way to his house so the team can rest without worry. Before Suthis can follow, Sasuke grabbed her wrist firmly. The dope isn't the only one who wasn't answers. The Uchiha stared into Sothis's eyes. You better talk. Suthis sighed, knowing she can't sleep her way out of this way. I guess I owe you all an explanation. We both do, Numa spoke as she stood next to Suthis, but let's get to Tazuna's house first and for Kakashi to wake up. Then we will explain everything. Suthis was not looking forward to this conversation. You two are goddesses? Naruto loudly yelled in shock, eyes as widen as dinner plates. He isn't the only one who is shocked. Sakura had her jaw to the floor and Sasuke's eyes were slightly wide. Kakashi, who recently woke up before the Fulden trio started explained, didn't show much emotion, but Suthis figured he was surprised or curious based on the small emotion you can see in his eye. Sasuke can't help but understand Sothis's and Numa's pain. Losing the majority of her family overnight isn't easy. She figured it was even more hard of Suthis since she only recently figured out your kin was slain pretty much overnight for her. But you look like kids though. The blonde scratches the back of his head in disbelief. Suthis sighed, clapping her hands together. Well, I believe we look like this because of, how do I put it? Limited energy we gather during the years we've been gone. Actually, I picked this form, Numa smiled. A bit smugly in Suthis' opinion, it's fun and I look adorable. Sasuke turned his attention to Edmund, who has been silent for a while now. What about him? He is human, young one, Suthis raised one hand, but if you meant his background. He is part of the Everdarth family, has one of the many crests in Fulden. He is the younger brother of Pyra Everdarth. Numa spoke up again. The Everdarth family is the family my sword is passed down in. Suthis continued the story. Sadly, they are the people from the ones who slither in the dark. The ones responsible that killed me and my children and turned my sister into a sword. They turned my children's bones into weapons known as the hero's relics. That made Team 7 shiver. What horrible people would do that to another living being? He decided to have children with their mother due to their inheritable crest so he could create the ultimate weapon. Pyra, said Numa. She held some venom in her voice. By doing so he saw she had humanity and decided to use that to make her do horrible things. No matter the era, they still do such horrible things, Suthis sighed. She hated they were still around and no doubt still created harm back in her world. Such is their way of living, the younger goddess then coughed before continuing. Anyway, he made Pyra learn to kill and be a weapon. She was tasked to kill a family because if she didn't, he'd kill Edmund. This happened several times now because of that man. Their family name was dragged through the mud and at the academy Edmund would get tormented by other students. None of our beloved Blue Lions however. Those people don't deserve to be there, but at least some of the other classes in the Golden Deer and the Black Eagles treat him based of his character and not background. Mainly Bernadetta for starters, Suthis stated. She missed those students, the good times they shared. Even if she wasn't able to talk to them, she enjoyed seeing them talk to Byleth. Exactly, such a sweet girl too. Numa swooned over the young purpled-haired female. Felix seems to really like her. I enjoy that. Suthis gave a soft smile. She could tell how fond Felix was when Bernadetta transferred to the Blue Lions thanks to Pyra. Felix is normally stubborn about his true feeling towards the girl, but everyone could tell there was something going on. The topic soon switched back to Zabuza and the boy. Kakashi said he has a feeling Zabuza is still alive. Much to everyone else's shock and disbelief. I guess we should probably start training, Suthis suggested as she raised her hand. My sister and I did manage to defeat him, but if he returns, he will likely bring backup and be stronger than before. You think a little training will help us? Sakura screeched at Suthis. Kakashi-sensei could barely defeat him with his Sharingan. We have to be reasonable about this. Numa smacked Sakura on the head. Lower your damn voice, child. My sister is correct. She then crossed her arms. You underestimate your own and your team's strength. The reason why we all didn't die is because we worked together. Yes, they will come back stronger and ready for us, but we can handle them if we learn to work together. Naruto grinned and nodded at Numa's words, hyped up, yes. Believe it, I don't believe it, and nothing's ever going to be good. A voice of a young boy snapped at the group, making them turn their heads to see a boy who looked to be around 6 or 8 years old. He white hate with overalls, he had black hair and eyes almost similar to Sasuke's. Inari, where have you been? Tazuna asked the young boy, whose name is now known as Inari. Suthis assumed this was the grandson Tazuna was talking about. Inari ran into the old man's arms while giving him a big hug. A woman, who the group can assume was Inari's mother, came walking over to the boy. Inari, that was very rude. These ninja helped your grandpa and brought him here safely. Tazuna gave the woman a smile, softly rubbing Inari's head. It's okay, it's okay. I'm rude to them too. He chuckled. Suthis felt Inari's stare at them. A part of her wanted to scold him like she normally does with Byleth, but that isn't her kid. Not her place. Inari broke the hug and looked at his mother. Mom, can't you see, these people are going to die. Gato and his men will come back and find them and wipe them out. What did you say, brat? Naruto rose from his seat to snap-eye the kid. Listen up, you know what a super ninja is. Well, that's me, only a lot better. I'm going to be Hokage. This Gato or Blotto or whatever he is called is no match for a hero like me. Ha, there is no such things as a hero. Inari snapped back at Naruto, you're just full of stupid ideas. Forget what Suthis said earlier. She is scolding the kid. Seems like Numa had the same idea as her, since she manages to speak before her. Honestly, your argument doesn't make sense, child. This place needs help, yet you people don't decide to stand up and fight for your freedom, nor do you want our help. Sounds like you want to wallop in your own sorrows. Agreed. Do you want your people to suffer more than they already have? It takes one person to inspire the many to fight against the darkness. We don't want anything besides protecting the innocent and free them. Suthis glared down at Inari, clearly annoyed at the boy's words. Shut up. Inari snapped at the two sisters. You'll all die anyways. He then left the room in a huff. Stomping his feet, Suthis wanted to yell at him for being disrespectful to her, Numa and the others. But she manages to hold back her words. There is no use in continuing to argue with a child. She isn't that petty. Edmund gently spoke up, seeing the young boy leave the room in pity. I think he's mourning a loss of someone, that's why he's like this. Suthis huffed, having her hands on her hips. She can't deny that may be the case. Somewhat remind me of Sirius. Speaking of scolding, she is dying to scold her daughter about the things she has done in the past few centuries. Agreed. Noom nodded at the older goddess. I'll scold her for you when I eventually see her. I would appreciate that very much. Suthis sighed. She would love to do it herself, but due to her current luck, unlikely. Oh, speaking of which, it seems your old vessel and your granddaughter have woken up. Numa opened the purple mirror in her hands again, seeing Byleth and Melody awakening in front of a village. Melody was Sirius, or in better words, Ray's daughter. Due to certain events, she ended up under Gerald's care as a baby. Raised alongside Byleth and becoming known as the Silent Angel, a title given to her by her fellow mercenaries due to her friendly yet deadly style of fighting. The group crowed around the mirror as they see the couple awaken from their 5-year slumber. What's that mirror? Asked Sakura. It allows me to see our world while I'm here, Numa explained to everyone as she watched the scene unfold. Byleth and Melody meeting up with the remaining blue lions. When she saw Melody in a long braid and in a gray and pink kimono, which was given to her by Ayla. Ah, Melody looks so cute with long hair like that. Suthis nodded in agreement. Agreed, she looks just like her mother. Also should give the young Ayla my praise for giving her that braid. They continued watching the events unfold, soon seeing how Dimitri was interacting with a general from the Empire. Suthis believed his name was, he was step-uncle. Randolph was begging for death while Dimitri was, well, being unhinged before Byleth was the one to put Randolph out of his misery. Team 7 stared in shock. Edmund and Suthis pity, and Numa had a blank look on her face. Suthis still can't believe this was the same boy who was so kind. He reminds me of Sasuke. He's so edgy. Naruto was the first to speak up, chuckling to himself. Sakura hit him on the back of the head, knocking him to the floor. Don't compare them, you idiot. Sasuke stared blankly at the mirror as Byleth talked to Dimitri. He wasn't that edgy, was he? Sudhis sighed, rubbing her temples in frustration. Hopefully Byleth will slap some sense into him soon, because if he keeps going down the path of vengeance. She knows if Dimitri goes any deeper down this path, it's likely he will wind up dead. Agreed? Numa let out a sigh of her own as she took in the scene she just witnessed. I don't think Pyra can take much more either. She worried for Edmund's older sister. The poor girl had to deal not only Dimitri's, but Bernadetta and Lorelai's issues. Lorelai is such a sweetheart though. Lorelai is Pyra and Edmund's younger half-sister. After the events that happened in Ramire village, Pyra found a baby Lorelai. Taking her in, somewhat becoming a mother figure to the child, which makes Sudhis feel pity that a child had to grow up in a time of war. Around the next day, Kakashi took the team to train in the forest. He used a crutch to walk around since his leg is still in recovery. He wanted the group to learn to climb trees to learn chakra control. Sudhis raised her hand, a deadpan look on her face. Do I have to do this? Because I can just float up to the top. She realized she still has the ability to float. So, she didn't see the need to climb trees with her bare feet. Kakashi paused, looking at Sudhis for a few moments. Yes, I guess. Just help them if they need it. Sudhis smiled, nodding. Good way to skip training, seems easy enough. Sudhis mostly watched the group climb the tree. Numa joined her since she can also float. Sakura managed to get up to a branch and sits there. Sudhis will admit to herself that the pink-hair female had good chakra control, so she isn't surprised that Sakura was the first to climb up. But she was a bit taken aback when Sasuke and Naruto didn't get that far, mainly Sasuke. She isn't that surprised that Naruto isn't getting it right away. Sudhis floated over to them, looking down at the duo. Need a little help? Sasuke tch, he looked away embarrassment. Naruto gave Sudhis a toothy smile. Don't worry, Sudhis. I'll figure it out and I'll totally beat Sasuke. Just you wait. Sudhis gave him a nod, rolling her eyes. If you say so. If you break your feet, don't ask me to rewind time. Numa snickered at the older goddess. Sudhis, don't act like you won't do it anyway. They don't need to know that. Sudhis pouted as she crossed her arms, huffing in annoyance. Naruto just noticed. Sudhis wasn't wearing any shoes. He looked a bit surprised. Wait, aren't you uncomfortable? You aren't wearing shoes, Sudhis? Sudhis looked down at her feet. She never really put much thought into her appearance. Guess it's more comfortable for me. She recalls that most dragons prefer not to wear shoes. She guesses it could be because they enjoy the more earthy feel of the ground. I think you're ready for an outfit change, Sakura said, eyeing Sudhis up and down. Now getting down from the branch she sat at, it's kind of old. Shut up, Sakura, Sasuke told Sakura, which made said girl sulk. Numa scoffed at Sakura, rudeness, before addressing Sudhis, but I should get you a different outfit anyway. People of this world will think you're odd, sister. Sudhis sighed. Numa had a point. Well, I'd rather not get this outfit dirty so I could change. She then put her hands on her hips. But I am keeping the braids and the crown. I actually like them. Numa didn't argue. She knew Sudhis is attached to them the most. You can keep them, sister. Which made the older greenie happy. As training has mostly been a pain. Sasuke and Naruto are still going at it. Edmund managed to convince the two to take a break for a minute. Giving them some water as both sat near their tree. Sasuke looked up from his seat, staring at Sudhis, who was talking to Numa still about outfit choices. He couldn't help but slightly admire her. A small blush appeared on his cheeks. She was kind of pretty. Numa noticed Sasuke staring at Sudhis from the corner of her eye, smugly smiling. She knew what Sasuke is warming up to her sister, even if he doesn't realize it. Sakura noticed as well. Her hands balled into fists. Why doesn't he look at me like that? She thought, envy in her thoughts. A small part of her felt silly for thinking that. Sudhis is a goddess. Who wouldn't stare at her like that? She just wished he would look at her with little fondness. Sudhis noticed Numa looking at Sasuke. Her eyes wandered to the boy in question. Confusion and slight annoyance on her face. What? You think the braids will look bad? Sasuke blinked, before huffing softly as he looked away. No, Tsunere. Naruto began laughing, slapping his knee as he watched this unfold. Haha. Sasuke and Sudhis sitting in a tree. Sudhis, feeling annoyed at the teasing as blush formed on her face. I'm about to put you in a tree. She then crossed her arms. Geez, you're like that leader in the Golden Deer. Claude has always been an odd one to say the least. She can never place her finger on him. He seems all fun ag games, but she knows underneath that persona, he is more than he lets on. There is a reason why people call him a master traction. It's like him teasing Dimitri about Pyra all over again. Numa softly chuckled at the chaos. Having fond memories back at the academy days, Claude was one of the first to hop into teasing the duo. And a similar mindset, Suthis said, looking at Naruto. Her gaze softened slightly. He did remind her of Claude, but Naruto had his own charm as well. Claude and Naruto were similar yet different at the same time. Why do you talk about her so much? Sakura asked, eyes narrowing at the sister duo. Mainly Numa, Pyra, I mean. We explained this earlier, Sakura. Numa gave Sakura a side glance, not giving the pink-hair female much mind. Sakura didn't stop her questioning. Why care about her so much if she's done so many awful things though? Suthis narrowed her eyes at Sakura. She didn't like where this is going. Pardon? You said she's killed countless people, right? Sakura raised an eyebrow. Why would you want to idolize her so much? Suthis rubbed her temples. It's not like she has a choice, you idiot. If you listen, she was forced to do that stuff by her father, to protect her brother. She couldn't hide the small anger in her voice. Before Suthis could continue, Edmund stormed over and slapped Sakura in the face, making the pink-hair girl fall to the ground. The action shocked everyone into silence. The sound echoed through the forest. It made Suthis realize how deafening the silence is. Edmund was breathing heavily, eyes wide with rage. My sister did everything to protect me from harm, even if it meant hurting people. She throws her life on the line every day to protect the bonds she's made with people. He let out a shaky breath. And I'll be damned to listen to a stupid, arrogant, whiny child badmouth her. Sakura held her bruised cheek, staring up at Edmund in shock and a bit of horror. She never thought Edmund would slap her. In fact, he was the last person she ever expects to lay a hand on her, or anyone for that matter. Kakashi walked up to the group, standing between Edmund and Sakura. Speaking in a stern, yet gentle tone, "Let's not fight." His eyes fell on Sakura. His gaze sharpened slightly. Sakura, you should apologize. Why waste your breath? Suthis went over to stand next to Edmund, placing a hand on his shoulder. She realized the boy was shaking in anger, which broke her heart some. I'm not going to let Edmund hear an apology she doesn't even mean anyways. Numa nodded in agreement. I'd say not fighting her is an act of mercy. Her gaze fell heavy on Sakura, making said girl flinched. Almost like a cornered animal. Why she had to open her mouth in the first place. Back at Tezuna's place, it was already late. Sasuke was outside, sitting down on the ground and stare into the night sky. The stars shined bright, rare for them to look this pretty, especially in the land of waves of all places. Suthis floated next to him. She was looking for him when she noticed he wasn't eating dinner with the rest. Sasuke. What troubles you? She aware he is a loner, but he seemed to be sulking a bit more than normal. Don't worry about it. Sasuke didn't bother giving her a glance, his back still facing her. Suthis pouted, placing a hand on her hip. Are you aware that saying, don't worry about it, normally has the opposite effect? She slightly teased, moving her way to sit next to him. Sasuke turned his head away, having a hand on his chin. Slightly annoyed at her tone. Suthis sighed, knowing this isn't gonna go anywhere. Look, I won't make you talk about anything that you don't want to. She let out soft sigh. But no, I will always lend a ear if you need someone to just listen. After a long pause, Sasuke spoke up. His gaze returned to the sky above. You lost your family, so I guess that makes us the same. Suthis' heart sank. She knew what he was talking to. My sister told me about what happened to your clan, she sighed. So like you said, I can understand and empathize with your struggle. That pain is always on your mind, no? Sasuke hummed softly. His gaze was heavy. He killed them. Your kin, correct? Suthis asked softly, making Sasuke nod. It broke her to think someone's own blood killing the other. My entire clan. Sasuke balled his fists. His normal stoic voice has a bit of rage and grief in it. And you plan to avenge them, yes? Suthis didn't even need an answer to that. She knew the answer already. I don't blame you. I admit I was my own revenge after what happened to me and my family. But keep in mind, you might lose yourself during the journey. Sirios was an example of what happens. Sasuke finally looked at Suthis. Seeing her gaze was on the ground. He can tell there is truth in her words, he nodding, giving some comfort to her. Tilda. It was later into the night, most people were asleep already. Suthis was in a deep sleep until she heard a soft knock in the room she was sleeping in. She lazily got up, floating to the door, grumbling to herself about no one will let her get a good sleep. She opened the door, seeing Edmund there, a blanket and pillow in hand. Eyes puffy from crying. "Can I stay here?" he asked, weakly. Sothis's heart broke. She moved aside to let the young boy in, of course. Edmund settled inside, making a bed next to hers. Laying on it as Suthis landed in front of him. Silence filled the room besides small sniffs from Edmund. "I miss her." Edmund broke, his voice shaken slightly. His hands on his face. "I miss my big sister." Sothis's frowned, taking Edmund into her embrace. One hand gently rubbing his back, while the other his head. There, she understood. She of all people should understand. She wishes she can turn back and save people, but she can't. Ironic, she is the goddess of time. Even gods have their limits. Suthis began softly humming a lullaby as she ran her hand through his hair. A memory of a song she used to sing to her children came into his mind. She sang it when her children felt sad when humans they grew so fond of pass away. In time's flow, see the glow of flames ever burning bright. On the swift river's drift, broken memories alight. More soft humming filled the air. It was peaceful, beautiful even. It felt like a big warm hug was giving, making everyone who heard it feel safe, protected and loved. Suthis looked down, seeing Edmund drift to a peaceful slumber. A smile formed on her face as she placed him into his little makeshift bed, placing the blanket over him. "Good night, sweet child. I will protect you this time, I promise." A lot of nothing, in Sothis's opinion, happened. Naruto and Sasuke had trained a whole lot in the past few days to climb those damn trees. Naruto has slept out in the wilderness, which did worry Suthis a bit, but he was alive. When Naruto returned, he described the person he met in the forest as a trap, and prettier than Sakura. Which made her question if Naruto breathed in any weird sense that made him high. Also that kid, what was his name again? Oh, yes, Inari. Suthis remembered at dinner he said some stuff, which made Naruto snap at him. Kid ran off, blah, blah. Like Suthis had said, a whole lot of nothing. But she did felt bad for Inari. Even if he was a bit of a brat, but it is clear he has a lot of trauma for someone so young. Anyways, on more important note, Kakashi asked. Team 7, minus Naruto who is still asleep, were just arriving at the bridge with Tazuna. Much to everyone's horror, the builders who arrived before them were out cold. Suthis had no clue if all were dead or unconscious. Suthis didn't know. But that made no difference to her. What the heck is this? Tazuna gasped at the sight before him, panic setting in. What happened? Someone was here. Someone was here. Suthis knew who did this. She is not an idiot. Especially when the fog started to slowly settle in. This is Zabuza's doing, Suthis had thought to herself. Sasuke, Sakura, Edmund, Numa, Suthis, get ready, Kakashi order. The team listened as they got in a protective stance around Tazuna. Getting their respective weapons ready. It's Zabuza, isn't it? Asked Sakura, trying to keep her voice steady. This is his hidden mist jutsu. No sh*t. Sherlock. Numa hissed softly at the pink-haired ninja. Sorry, I kept you waiting, Kakashi. Zabuza's voice rang through the area. I'm glad you still got those brats with you. That one is still trembling. Pitiful. Suthis glanced over at Sasuke. Her eyes widened slightly at his hand trampling. Just before she can say anything, clones of Zabuza stand around the group. Sasuke smirked, much to Zabuza's slight surprise. I'm trembling with excitement. That sounds so wrong. Suthis mumbled to herself, scoffing softly. Go on, Sasuke, Kakashi encouraged. When a Zabuza clone swung his sword, Sasuke quick cut the clone in half with such speed. It's a blink and you'll miss it moment. He then destroyed all the other clones with the same style, making them burst into water. Ooh, so you could see they were water clones, huh? Zabuza's voice spoke in amusement and a bit impressed. Finally stepping into sight, the brat's improving. Looks like you got a rival, Haku. The same boy, now named Haku, that they met a few days ago appeared next to Zabuza, it so seems. Suthis want to be surprised, but she isn't. The boy did feel odd when they first met but can't really go back and change anything now. Well, so I had it right, Kakashi said, a small hint of pride in his tone as everything clicked. It was all an act. Enacted? Asked Tazuna, still confused and shocked. With a cute little mask, Kakashi scoffed softly. Huh? Sakura gasped, looking dumbfounded. A phony. Huh? Sasuke rolled his eyes. So, I guess all that about being a tracker ninja protecting his village was all a lot of bull. Tazuna finally got it as he glared at Haku. It looked chummy to me, Kakashi hummed. I'd say they've been pulling scams like that for a long time. Suthis couldn't help but agree. Their act was way too convincing. She knew it was way too easy to get rid of Zabuza like that. If that was the case, he would have been dead a long time ago. He has some nerve facing us after pulling that trick, Sakura hissed at Haku, baring her teeth like a cat. And hiding behind that mask. Who does he think he is fooling? Kakashi mocked, making Suthis him as a result. You are one to talk. Suthis annoying said, huffing. Making Kakashi chuckled awkwardly. That's it, I'm taking him out, Sasuke declared as he stepped forward. Who does he think he is fooling? Hiding behind that mask like some sort of clown? That makes Sakura squeal over him and talking about cool he was, much to the Fodlan trio's annoyance. Kakashi said the same thing, they thought to themselves. Deadpanning, Haku imminently went Beyblade mode and spined towards Sasuke with such speed. Pulling out his needles to stab Sasuke, but Sasuke used his kunai to block the attack. Both then started fighting, Sasuke is seeming matching Haku's speed. Much to Team 7's delight. Suddenly, Haku started using one hand to perform a jutsu, much to everyone, minus Zabuza's shock, secret jutsu. 1000 needles of death. He then stomped on the water puddles from the former Zabuza clones. The water raised around them before forming into ice needles. When the needles lunged at the two, both Haku and Sasuke managed to dodge in time. Sasuke started throwing ninja stars at Haku, who dodged easily. Suddenly, Sasuke was behind Haku. You're not as fast as you think, he smirked. From this point on, you're the one defending against my attacks. Both once again began to lock close combat. Their movements were quick. Sasuke got the upper hand and managed to kick Haku, sending him flying all the way to Zabuza's feet. Zabuza can't help but look at Haku in shock. He never saw anyone as faster or even faster than Haku. He turned his attention back to Team 7. He has underestimated the kids. He originally thought Kakashi was the only real obstacle, then Suthis and Numa, now Sasuke. You made a big mistake insulting these ninja and calling them brats, Kakashi said. You can pretty much tell he was smirking under his mask by his tone. That's just guaranteed to bring out Sasuke's attitude. And he's the best young fighter of the Hidden Leaf Village. And Sakura here is our sharpest mind. Suthis felt like that just boosts Sasuke's already high ego as it is, but Kakashi isn't. And as much as she doesn't want to say out loud, Sakura is pretty smart. Definitely has the highest IQ out of her, Sasuke and Naruto. She also has good chakra control from what she's seen. But that's as Suthis is willing to praise Sakura. Suthis and Numa are our trump cards. Always having a secret power that will bring us to advantage, Kakashi said, praising the two green-haired sisters. Edmund is our lucky charm. Ah, how sweet, Suthis gave a small smile and Edmund blushed a bit from Kakashi's words. But last, but not least, our number one hyperactive knuckled-headed ninja is Naruto Uzumaki. Kakashi spoke in pride about the orange ninja. Suthis got a gut feeling Naruto sensed he said that. Zabuza laughed a bit, HMPH. Haku, if we keep going like this, we'll be the victims instead of them. Get on with it, right? Haku stood from the wet ground, his chakra oozing out of him. Suthis got more serious as the air suddenly got colder. She knew this was getting more dangerous by the second, but she didn't need to tell anyone that. Suddenly, ice mirrors began to form around Sasuke. Almost like a cage trapping a bird, secret jutsu, crystal ice mirrors. Haku went into one of the mirrors, his reflection showing on multiple mirrors. But how? Sasuke gasped as he saw multiple Hakuses. Getting more and more tense, feeling like a cage bird. Kakashi tried to rush over to Sasuke but Zabuza got in his way. If you enter this fight, you fight me, said the mercenary. Your boy has no chance against that jutsu. He's finished. Now, we'll begin, Haku said, and I'll show you what speed really means. Without even blinking, Haku sent needles at Sasuke's arm, cutting through his cloths and cutting his skin. Sasuke couldn't even dodge since the attacks are happening all around him and leaving him helpless. Try and help him and I'll kill the other 5 in a heartbeat, Zabuza threatened Kakashi. Do you need a reminding of the beatdown me and my sister gave you? Suthis reminded Zabuza, who just narrowed his eyes at her. Suthis decided it was time to step in. She began using her ability to pause time. With everything frozen, she made her way over to Sasuke. She jumped and pushed him away from the needles. Making time resume. Sasuke was in shock at Sothis's sudden arrival as both managed to dodge hordes of needles. Them stabbing the ground. What are you just doing to stand there and take it, you fool? Suthis bonked Sasuke on the head when both managed to get up from the floor, before using healing magic to heal Sasuke. Haku, after getting over his shock, began to get ready to attack. You're different from the others. I must take you out quickly. Sakura grabbed a kunai and began running over and throw it over to Sasuke to grab, but Haku got out of the mirror, grabbing it. Suddenly, Shuriken hit Haku in the head, knocking him out of the mirror. The number 1 hyperactive knuckle-headed ninja, Haku said as he slowly raises from the ground. Everyone turned to the smoke. When it cleared, Naruto was seen. A wild Naruto is spotted. Naruto Uzumaki is here. Yeah, Naruto grinned ear from ear, laughing softly. Believe it. This child. Suthis softly smiled as she saw Naruto. Of course, he will have a dramatic entrance. Now that I'm here, everything will be alright, Naruto said. You know how in stories the hero usually shows up at the last minute and then kicks butt? Well, that's what I'm going to do right now. Believe it. Suthis shook her head, amused. Of course, if he stayed hidden, he would have the upper hand, but oh well. Just then, Zabuza threw shuriken at Naruto. Before any of Team 7 could act, Haku jumped in and saved Naruto by throwing his needles to pin the shuriken to the ground. Much to everyone's shock, Haku, what are you doing? Zabuza asked the boy. Haku didn't even face the older mercenary. Zabuza, this boy, let me fight him my own way. Please, bring it on, Naruto said as he got into a more defensive potion. Wait, this is perfect, Suthis thought to herself. Maybe we can have Naruto destroy the mirrors from the outside. Before Suthis could tell Sasuke the plan, Naruto was suddenly in the mirror doom. Hey! I snuck in here to save you. Suthis and Sasuke stared at Naruto, both dumbfounded and shocked. Did he seriously? You Doomba S. Suthis bonked Naruto on the head. You're not supposed to be in here. Ow, what's that for? Naruto held his head in pain. I came in here to save you. We didn't need saving. Suthis hissed at the young ninja. If you stayed out, you could have attack from the outside and we can from the inside. Now we can't do that. Naruto just pouted, feeling like a scolded child. Suthis was right, maybe he was careless. But he didn't like the idea of Suthis and Sasuke being in here. The trio eventually decided to try breaking the mirrors, ranging from fire attacks to straight up trying to tackle them, but all proven to be failures. Haku uses needles to attack them. Suthis felt embarrassed. She is a goddess for crying out loud. How is she letting this kid get the upper hand? She is to focus on healing and protecting Naruto and Sasuke to really do anything offensive. Not like that as an excuse. Maybe she can ask Edmund and Numa to break the mirrors from the outside? No, they're busy protecting the bridge builder and Sakura and making sure Zabuza in line. How about she pauses time and head out? Maybe that can. Before Suthis could finish her thoughts, Sasuke suddenly collapses to the ground. Suthis stared in shock. She has been to catch up in her own thoughts to heal him. Naruto held him in his arms. They had a conversation about something Suthis couldn't hear as she was still drowning out by her own shock. It wasn't until Naruto started having this orange chakra around him. You'll pay for this. Changed slightly. His marks on his cheeks became bolder, his eyes went from blue to orange, looking closer to a fox. He glared at Haku with nothing but hate, grief and rage. I'm going to kill you. The orange chakra was too powerful, it cracked the ground. What is this power? Suthis thought to herself as she saw Naruto destroyed the mirrors with such speed and ease as he began to match Haku's speed. This isn't Naruto anymore. She is sure about that. Is this what my sister told me about? The Nine Tails power? Naruto rushed at Haku once the mirrors was destroyed but stopped when Haku looked at the boy. His mask falling as it revealed who he really was. A boy, a pretty one in fact. Naruto's features returned back to normal. Shocked, confused even, but still overcome with rage. Naruto asked why Haku will follow a man like Zabuza, which lead into a whole backstory on how Zabuza saved him, took him in when no one else did. Cared for him. Sothis' heart softened for the boy. To a certain level, Haku reminds her of Byleth. In a weird way. Just a lost person looking for that whole piece. Just someone who went down a dark path. Founded by a man who led him into a life of killing. Haku asked Naruto to kill him, but before the orange ninja can do so, Haku ran over to Zabuza. Everyone watched in shock as Haku took a killing blow from Kakashi, who aimed a lightning attack at Zabuza. Piercing his chest. He saved your worthless life, at the cost of his own, Kakashi glared at Zabuza. Zabuza just chuckled, well done, Haku. He reached for his weapon, ready to cut Kakashi as he didn't care for what happened to Haku's body. I knew I'd found a treasure when I found you, boy. You've not only given me my life, but Kakashi's as well, but Kakashi managed to dodge in time, avoiding Zabuza's attack. You'll pay for that. Naruto glared at the mercenary. No, stay out of this, Kakashi told Naruto before placing Haku's body down on the ground, before closing the boy's eyes. Putting him to rest, Kakashi soon continued his battle with Zabuza, now seeming more determined before. Sothis soon noticed Sakura was crying over Sasuke as Numa was healing the Uchiha boy in question. She floated over to them, is he alive? Yes. Numa confirmed as she used healing magic on Sasuke. His wounds were healing nicely. Why didn't you protect him? Sakura screeched at Sothis, tears running down her face. Are you supposed to be all-powerful? You could have easily defeated that masked boy. Sothis didn't reply. She knew Sakura had a point, even though it pained her to agree. She was pretty useless in the battle. She could have done more. Maybe one of her spells? No, they are too destructive and would likely kill Haku, Sasuke and Naruto and destroyed the bridge. Sakura, watch your tone. Numa scolded the girl. Most of Sothis's offensive spells are too dangerous in a closed space and likely would have killed everyone else and destroyed the bridge, setting this mission back a tone. Even using time pulse and pausing time won't do much good since she also had to protect Sasuke and Naruto. Sasuke's injuries would be worse if it wasn't for her. Sakura balled her fists, but she didn't have anything to say when Numa gave her a scoffed. So, this? Sasuke's eyes barely fluttered open as he called out to the goddess. Sothis gasped as she kneeled down to him, you're alive. Sasuke slowly got up. Sothis hugged him, not tightly but enough to make him groan a bit while slightly blushing. Careful, sister. He is still hurt, Numa told Sothis as she gently smiled at the scene. How is it like to see your crush crushing on someone else? Edmund whispered to Sakura, who just hissed at him like an angry cat. Before the scene lasted any longer, a man's voice was heard. Did quite the job on you, Zabuza? Everyone turned to see a short man in a suit. He was surrounded by a lot of men in weapons. Gato, I don't understand. Zabuza turned to face the man. His arms broken from his battle with Kakashi. What is all this? Why are you here? And who are these thugs you brought with you? Geto went into a long speech on how there was a change of plan and him pretty much double-crossing Zabuza since he failed to kill Tazuna and how is too expensive. Even started to also mock him for his failure to kill Kakashi and a few kids. Well, Kakashi, Zabuza spoke up. It would seem our fight has come as at an end. Since I am no longer in Geto's employ, Tazuna's safe. We have no quarrel. Yeah, I suppose you're right. Kakashi's eye fell onto the mob. Zabuza isn't his top worry, even if he was in Geto's employ. His arms are broken and injured. Geto went up to Haku's body, mocking the dead boy and kicking his head. Which angered Naruto and the others. Yes, Haku was an enemy, but he was still a good kid at heart. Naruto wasted to attack Geto, but Kakashi stopped him. So, Naruto began yelling at Zabuza, going into a whole spill on how Haku did so much for him and for Zabuza to act like it's not a big deal he died for him. Something seems to break in Zabuza after Naruto's whole speech, tears running down his face. Blending his bandage mask, you talk too much. Your words cut deep, deeper than any blade. While he fought you, his heart was breaking in two. You see, Haku was always too soft and too kind. He felt pain and sorrow, and now, curse him, I feel them too. And something else. I feel content that this is the way it ends. He used his teeth to remove his mask, revealing his sharp teeth. Zabuza asked for Naruto's kunai, which the young boy gave it to him. Zabuza held it in his teeth before rushing at Geto and the mob. Geto hides in the back as Zabuza made his way through the mob, injuring a good amount of them like they were nothing. Zabuza made his way to Geto, at the edge of the bridge, stabbing him straight in the heart. I won't be joining, Haku. Where's he joining? I can't follow. Grinning at Geto, like a predator looking at his prey. We won't be welcome where Haku's done too. Hell's where we're going, Geto. I can't think of a more fitting destination for a demon ninja, can you? With that, Zabuza pushed Geto down into the waters below, making sure Geto is never coming back up. Soon, Zabuza slowly walked back over to Haku's dead body, but before he got there, he collapses in the middle of the mob, who kept their distance from him. Sasuke soon returned to the others, Numa and Suthis helping him move. Sasuke, you're alive? Naruto seemed to be overjoyed seeing his teammate live. Numa explained that she had used healing magic to heal his wounds. Numa healed me, Sasuke hummed, looking away from Naruto as the orange ninja seemed to beam from joy. None of his wounds were actually fatal, Numa explained as she eyes Haku's dead body for a second. He just make it look as such. Naruto remembered Zabuza's words about Haku. Too soft, too kind. He was right. If he was anything like Zabuza, he would have killed Sasuke, even him, a long time ago. But he didn't, which made his heart hurt even more for Haku's death. Hey, you who? One of the mob members said, hitting the hilt of his weapon on the ground, getting the group's attention. Don't go getting too comfortable. Who's going to pay us now that Geto is gone? Another mob asked. No way are we going to leave here empty-handed. The first mob who spoke up began speaking again. Guess we'll have to hit that village and see what they've got for us. The rest of the mob cheered in agreement. They began to charge at the group, ready to run the group down, only stopping when an arrow landed in front of them. Everyone turned to see Inari holding a crossbow, with a bunch of people, if not the whole village, standing behind him with their own weapons of choice, ranging from knives to spears. There is one more thing you're forgetting about, a man from the village said. Before you step one foot in our village, you'll have to get through all of us. Inari. Naruto smiled as he saw the boy. Inari laughed as he gave Naruto a grin of his own. Heroes usually come at the last minute, you know? They'll all came. Tazuna teared up a bit, the whole village. The mob looked a bit nervous, clearly not expecting the villagers to have the guts to defend themselves. They got even more so when Naruto and Kakashi made clones of themselves. I guess I should also join in. Suthis summoned the sword of the creator. Numa also summoned her own sword as well. Both ready to face the mob. Okay, still want to fight? The clones of Kakashi said in unison. No thanks. The mob began to run away at full speed. Some even dropping their weapons, not bothering when picking them up. All jumped onto the boat they came on, rushing to get on. Some even fell into the water before driving off. The villagers cheered in victory, knowing Tazuna can finally finish the bridge and their village will be left alone from Geto and his men. Kakashi went over to Zabuza, a bit surprised to see the man barely alive when he said, "Sounds like it's over." Kakashi nodded. Yeah, Kakashi, I have a favor to ask. Zabuza barely moved his head to look at Kakashi. Take me to him. Before I go, I have to see him one last time. Sure. Kakashi looked at Zabuza, his gaze now soft as he gently picked Zabuza up and began walking over to Haku's body, being careful to not drop the dying mercenary. The copy ninja placed Zabuza down next to Haku, just in time for snow to gently fall from the sky. It felt like it was Haku's doing, like telling Zabuza he was waiting for him, or even listening, crying. Thank you, Kakashi, Zabuza said to Kakashi once he was down before turning his attention to Haku. You're always at my side. The least I can do is beside you at the end. I know it cannot be, but I wish to go where you have gone. He lifted his hand weakly to gently touch Haku's cheek. How I wish I could join you there. Haku, he finally gave in to his injuries. Moving on to the afterlife. Naruto teared up, sniffing. He told me where he is from. It was always snowing, all the time. Suthis felt her heart break. Haku is a good kid, and Zabuza wasn't that bad of a guy. He is human. Maybe if they were born in Fulden, both might have gotten the help they need. Maybe even lived and had normal lives. She knew if Byleth and Gerald could, they likely could as well. Tilda. The sun was setting. Team 7 had made a grave for Zabuza and Haku. Zabuza's sword was placed above his. Haku's broken mask above his own. Edmund had fixed it. It felt right to have the mask and sword next to each other. Sakura had broken the silence. Is that really it, Kakashi-sensei? The older male turned his attention to her as she continued to speak. Is that really the ninja way? To use and using people like tools? Shinobu are all merely tools in the hands of destiny, Kakashi said to her. No point in wondering if it's right or wrong. It just is. It's the same in the village hidden in the leaves. If you ask me if that's all being a ninja's all about, then something is out of whack. Naruto spoke up. Is that why we go through all this training? Just to end up like them? Suthis couldn't help but agree with Naruto. What's the point of that? All eyes were on Kakashi, the copy ninja's side. Well, it's a question without an answer. And that is something we ninja have to deal with every day of our lives, like Zabuza and the kid. After a long pause of silence, Naruto spoke up. Okay. Everyone turned to him in wonder. I've just come to a decision. From now on, I'm finding my own ninja way. A way that's straight and true and without any regrets. From now on, I'm following the way of Naruto. Suthis softly smiled at Naruto. He really is something, she thought to herself. He is a special one and she already knew he will be doing great things in the future. He may not be the brightest but had heart, like all the students back at the academy. She swears she will help him be Hokage one day and be the best version of himself. That's what Byleth would have done if he was in her shoes. Tilda. The next few weeks, Tazuna had worked on the bridge. It was quick surprising how fast he and his team were able to fix it. Luckily, everything went smoothly and none of the mob returned. So, Team 7 treated it more or less as a vacation. When it was finished, it was time for Team 7 to leave. They all stood at the now finished bridge. Tazuna spoke up. We couldn't have finished the bridge without you. I can't tell you how much we're going to miss you. Do be careful. His daughter spoke up and gave the team a smile. Thank you for everything. Kakashi gave a closed-eye smile. Now, don't get all chalked up, Naruto said. It sounded like he said more to himself than anyone. We'll come back and visit soon. Inari held back tears of his own. You swear you will? Tazuna patted him on the head, trying to comfort him. Naruto had a harder time holding back his own tears, of course. You know, Inari, it's alright to cry if you want. There's nothing wrong with that. Go for it. Who says I want to cry? Inari huffed, still holding back tears, trying to act as touched as Naruto is. Anyways, if there's nothing wrong with it, then why don't you go on and cry? No, you first, Naruto said as both have a staring contest before Naruto turning around. Forget it. Both started to cry like babies. Edmund, Numa and Suthis snickered at the two. From how they are acting, it's like they are forbidden to see each other. Which is both adorable and a bit silly. With that, Team 7 was off. Giving silent prayers to whatever god or goddess watches over this land that everything will turn out smoothly. Ha ha. As soon as we get back, I'm gonna let Iruka-sensei fix me up a whole mass of ramen to celebrate a mission accomplishment. Naruto said with joy. Oh, and just wait till I tell Konohamaru about all my adventures. The kid's going to worship me. Hey, Sakura called out. Yeah? Naruto answered. Not you, Sakura said as she turned to Sasuke. Sasuke, when we get back, you want to go out and do something together? I don't think so, Sasuke brushed her off, making the bubblegum princess sulk. Sakura, I'd do something with you if you want, Naruto grinned at her. What? Sakura suddenly grabbed Naruto's shirt. That was a private conversation. Let him go. Suthis smacked Sakura's hands off Naruto. You know, Naruto? Numa got the boy's attention. You need more in your diet than just ramen. You should come over and let me cook you something healthier. But, Naruto tried to argue but Numa quickly shut it down with a look. Fine.